A meteorite strikes into Mojang's office in Stockholm, Sweden, erasing the entire development team in an instant, including Jeb, Agnes, and the hundreds of other developers. This completely ends Mojang as a company, which means that Minecraft can never receive updates again. What happens next? Since Microsoft owned Mojang and loves money, they likely try to rebuild the studio using new employees. They end up hiring hundreds of these people to take the jobs of the previously established developers. But Mojang wasn't just a group of programmers. They were a team with decades of experience and a unique vision for the game. So after a short while, the new people realize that they have no idea what to do at all. So they either quit or get fired. After Mojang disappears for good permanently, believe it or not, nothing actually happens at first. In fact, for those who don't usually keep track of stuff, the game keeps going as normal for a few months. Servers run, single-player worlds continue, and aside from the reactions of all the developers' deaths, the Minecraft community keeps the game strong. Also, for the sake of this hypothetical, we're not going to really focus on the death part. The main point is that the game stops receiving updates, so the game keeps thriving. But eventually, the entire system starts to collapse. It starts with a lack of updates. The final official version is 26.2, which means that the Dappled Forest update, while being in development, never releases. This causes the game to feel more boring. Lots of players quit simply because the updates stop, but the servers keep strong with thousands of players. That is until just a few years later, when maintaining those servers slowly becomes essentially impossible. Things like operating systems, Java versions, and hosting technology continue advancing hyper fast, while Minecraft's original code remains utterly frozen in time. Eventually, the possibility of keeping servers running on such an outdated version disappears because it's so expensive and complicated, which causes most, if not all of them, to slowly shut down. This means that servers slowly fizzle out, to the point where the multiplayer tab is pretty much useless. Modders try to fix this by creating unofficial fixes and compatibility updates, but they only end up delaying the inevitable without Mojang's official support. So pretty much all servers disappear. This kills the activity of tens of millions of players, because they pretty much only played the game with others. But people who play single player thrive. Worlds keep getting created and built, not only because introverts love it, but also because the single player tab becomes the only tab once multiplayer disappears. So people who would normally play multiplayer jump to maining single player. This is especially true for Golden Age and Bronze players, since they only ever stayed in the beta and alpha versions of the game, meaning that they would never experience updates anyway. This means that their gameplay isn't altered in the slightest, leaving them probably the most alive community still playing it. At this point, the modding community is absolutely thriving. If players want updates, modders are the only ones who can provide. Some players learn how to mod simply because they want to add stuff to their own playthrough. Players who normally only played vanilla Java edition now have hundreds of mods active, some for performance, some minor tweaks, and some game-changing. Every mini community makes their own mods. New weapons get added, every block gets a stair and slab variant, redstone becomes much more advanced, and a plethora of new commands get implemented. However, given enough time, the modding community suffers the same fate that the multiplayer community did, because eventually modern technology will become absolutely incompatible with Minecraft's frozen codebase. You know when you try to download some apps on your phone and it says that your phone version is too outdated? Well, that would eventually happen for Minecraft too, just slower and more limiting. Now you may think that this kills Minecraft definitively. In fact, a lot of players straight up can't play the original game. It's just left without anything added to it. The game is effectively a husk of its original self. But notice how I mentioned the original, because the Minecraft community is one of the most resilient communities on the entire internet. They absolutely love this game, believe me, which leads them to work together to completely recreate the game using separate tools. This takes years, possibly even decades to accomplish, but given enough time, it's pretty much destined to happen. This revives the game first of all, while also adding back every broken feature. Multiplayer is back, single player is back. Sure, official updates are gone, but modding has never been easier. Since the game is open source and most likely free, modding becomes easier than it's ever been. Players can now modify literally any aspect of the game, including creating new menus, adding hyper-realistic gore, adding a modding tool inside the game itself, and much more. However, since the community is now fully controlling the game, there isn't just one Minecraft anymore. You see, back when Minecraft was only maintained by Mojang, there still wasn't one Minecraft. Sure, it was one game, but there were thousands and thousands of sub-communities. Think of what I mentioned before, like PvP, building, redstone, commands, and other communities that you might be in. This leads to thousands and thousands of different games, some purely meant for realistic survival, some purely meant for sandbox building, some purely meant for PvPing, and much more. Since all the different games contradict themselves on every very basic level, it's impossible for there to be one single modern game at this point. This causes the community to end up being spread out over thousands of playable Minecrafts. By this point, Minecraft is becoming a lot like Roblox, and some people straight up recreate the original game in Roblox. And since there's no Mojang or Microsoft to stop them, since the game has likely entered public domain by now, yes, it's been that long, they can just keep developing these games for as long as they want. We can now take this to an extreme. If you go far enough further in time, the generation who experienced Mojang's version passes away, and the next generation barely even knows Mojang existed while playing the game that they built entirely from scratch. But you may notice one theme that stays consistent throughout the entire journey. The original structure of Minecraft never dies. It's still a block game that you can play with creativity and or with survival, as a single player or as a multiplayer. Sure, mods similar to no cubes take away the identity from the game, but let's be honest, none of those mods really catch on, and even if they did, they wouldn't be Minecraft, they'd be their own game. This is because that idea of a block game with limitless creativity is absolutely timeless. It's why it has stayed as one of the most popular video games for years, and why it still hasn't died for over 17 years. Eventually, after all the stuff happens, a group of people decide to do something unique. They take every major Minecraft game that people play and make them all accessible through a single game and a single menu. There's now a multiplayer tab and a single player tab. You can create literally any world you want, and you can play or make any server you want. Given enough time, every single major version gets ported to this new game, every major mod gets included, and players can choose the game that they want to play. And this isn't built like a static menu, it updates depending on what you do with it on your device. This causes it to turn into that game that fizzled out all those years ago. The game that Mojang had built has now been entirely recreated, this time just with more features that are completely optional for every player. And since this game is open source, anyone can access the code, contribute to development, and create their own versions under the project's license, leading to the game being playable to absolutely anyone with a device. So instead of the game dying and everyone forgetting about it, it becomes even better with no multi-trillion-dollar companies to hold it back anymore. The community is the only manager now, which is technically anarchistic, but who cares, man? It's a video game that anyone can do anything to with their own playthrough. It is no longer called what it used to. It has a different name for everyone who plays it, because everyone plays it in a different style from everyone else, meaning that some people have zero interest in mining and some have zero interest in crafting, but it's still formed from what Minecraft was that long ago. So that's what would happen to Minecraft if it stopped getting updated, probably. For clarification, this video is entirely hypothetical, and what happens isn't the result of players advancing extremely fast, it's the result of infinite time given to a massive and resilient player base, which means that basically anything can get achieved, though this likely won't happen anytime soon. Mojang has not been hit by a meteorite as far as I'm aware, and the game is still thriving in active development. A few years ago, someone at Microsoft said that they would keep the game going for 15 more years, which is still a lot of time, but Mojang probably won't keep this game going forever, which is exactly what this video is all about. Go watch the video on the end screen. Anyway, thanks for watching this URT Minecraft video, Revelation 21.1, and until next time, Undefeatable Army.